Welcome to Naked Marketers, everybody. My name is Pete Wright, and I'm here. I can't believe I'm here. I'm here with Megan Strand.
Hey, Pete.
And Dane Christensen. God, love you, son. That is really stunning that you happen to be in this room. We're at McTarnahan's Tap Room, a pyramid brewing. What do they call that company? Mm-hmm. And this is our first live show. In fact, you guys had never even met.
Awesome.
This is so on.
I met for the first time today in person in flash.
That was good. And what'd you think? What's your impression so far of each other?
Oh, she's delightful. She's Chilean. She's not tall. But, just an adorable personality.
Person.
And can I tell you, I was walking around Portland today.
Tell me about that.
And I realized something that is true of ski resorts, but not of cities, generally speaking, and not true of Portland.
I sort of want to go down that list. What is true of ski resorts and of cities?
I only have one
Not
thing.
enough spandex.
No.
Skis.
Okay.
Snow.
No, that's not the thing.
Chairlifts.
White people?
Actually, Portland has a chairlift, a tram.
It's not really a chairlift.
So
There's
it's a tram. It's a
Okay, all right.
gondola, whatever. No, the thing that's odd, I was walking
What is
around,
it?
I was like, you know what they have at ski resorts, and I don't see it here in Portland or cities generally, is a bra tree. A tree where people throw bras. There's usually like at a ski resort, there'll be like one tree designated as where they throw the bras.
I've
None in
never
Portland.
seen that at
Never
a
seen
ski
it.
I've never
resort.
seen that.
I've never seen that
They don't
either.
have that at Mount Bachelor.
Anywhere I've
Yeah,
ever seen.
and I was walking around Portland, I was like, there's no bra tree. That's at a ski resort, they generally do have.
I think you should change that. I
bra
think you
tree,
should
so-
encourage the women of Portland to start a bra tree.
Well, we got to find a bra tree. Otherwise, you end up with bras all over trees
the
indiscriminately,
wrong
willy-nilly.
location and the wrong bras.
That'd be
Yeah, everybody has to find the right
could be-
tree is the problem.
Thank-
is what
thank
we're
God
saying.
Could be
Dane
on
came to
site
town.
done incorrectly, but
Yeah, you don't want to mess that up. You can't. There's no do-overs with a bra tree.
It's something I hadn't thought of before, and today it occurred to me.
That's awesome. I'm glad that Dane came to town to
Yeah,
share
I
this
need to
up.
share that with us. Should we
think
talk?
about that.
Should we
Think
talk?
about
You know why this is good? Besides the fact that we're all here at the same table.
I love, by the way, this is what's fun about being together for the show is
Look
watching
who's
your
like all
eyes.
chatty all of a sudden.
Watching your eyes when I throw a story like that out there.
Yeah, I like how
And
you classify that as a
kind of
story.
like oh crap, kind of a,
Dane,
I don't
look.
get to see that when I
Look,
look
Dane's talking
on
about the
Skype,
bra
and I'm like, what are they doing?
We don't get to
What do
see
their
each other
faces
either.
do when I bring stuff like
But
that
you never
up?
know.
But
I mean,
got
from
to
now on,
see
Megan and I
that.
might start meeting for beer just to get through the show.
I got to see that in person today. That's great. Thanks, guys.
We love you, Dane.
So this is why. This is. So I think. What did you think of Dane when you picked him up? Do you have any thoughts? Do you feel a little
Is
bit
this
like?
the new
I can't
show?
stop.
sort
I
of-
cannot stop laughing around
How
Dane.
is it? I feel like Chuck Woolery.
Yeah, I was going to say,
bit.
you sound like Chuck Woolery right now.
You
So do you think you're? So do you
like
think you're
Chuck
going?
Woolery, too.
Did the cotton candy push you over the edge, or do you think you're going to go on
What'd you
another
think
date?
when you
can
first
have another date on us?
And on your honeymoon.
Yeah, no. So was he? Was he everything you expected?
He's everything I expected and more.
And more.
I just can't stop
It's the most
laughing. I just
awkward
sitting
questions.
sitting
I
across
think
from Dane.
just
I'm just
awkwardness.
It's
laughing
a bizarre,
hilariously.
What did you think
bizarre
of Pete when you
experience.
first met him?
Well, that was.
That's a long time ago.
Pete didn't like me when he first met me.
Well,
See, now we're getting somewhere. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, I
There
know
we
I said
go.
that.
There we
Wow.
go.
I didn't mean it. Of
Snotty.
course,
This
I
is
didn't
getting fun
mean it.
now.
So
Live
this is.
shows
Let me tell you.
are great.
Let me tell you why I think this is going to be a good show.
Guns N' Roses in the background?
Guns N' Roses
Oh.
is that still Guns N' Roses?
No, it's something else now, but
No,
it
this is going to be a
was.
good show because we have we're going to be talking to a
It's
little bit
Kiss.
later.
Sweet.
We're going to be talking to Yelp. We've got two community managers from Yelp who are joining us to talk. We've talked a lot about the geo-social marketing space, and so it'll be good to have somebody who actually knows the business to come and wax philosophical with us for a little bit later in the show. And I think they're going to try and tell us which tool we should actually be looking at. Because you're still Foursquare people, right? You're a new Foursquare.
I'm a new
people,
Foursquare
right,
guy.
Dan?
It's just, I can't get Facebook places to work, and I want people to know where I am. Here's what I've realized is kind of a fun thing. Sometimes I'm at a place where I think I want people to know I'm at that place. So I think I'm going to
Yeah.
that or post it on Facebook. Hey, I'm at this place. And then I think, no, that's so narcissistic. I'm not going to do that. But on Foursquare,
about
you just
the online
hit check in,
identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's where I am. And I don't feel narcissistic about it. So I think that's a good thing.
Well, you can always check in on Foursquare and not tell people.
That's the best trick about
I'm
it.
selective about that, though. It's that online identity thing. It's that snotty thing.
Are you're scared about the stalkers? Is that the thing?
No, I'm not scared about stalkers. Who's going to stalk me? I am 5'1",
Dane
all muscle,
might.
baby.
Yeah, don't be so sure.
That's a scary. It's a scary
You
thing.
live in Kentucky, and you need to be real careful.
This is true.
Oh, he's bringing it. This is a let's talk about the transition from loyalty apps. From the geosocial check-in where you are to what you watch, what you read, what you see. These things are everywhere. What is Get Glue?
Get Glue is a new app that allows you to check in at a television show, which I think is a little odd.
Do you?
I do.
Why?
I think I'm biased because I don't actually watch that much television. But this is an article from Ad Age we were looking at, and one of the things that I thought was funny is that one of the reasons people are citing for using these check-in to television show programs, and there are multiple different apps that will do this, is that it demonstrates that I'm a better fan than somebody who just likes a show, which I think is funny.
Okay, I'm trying to
It's like
figure
a
out why.
competition about who's a better TV show fan, which is ridiculous to me.
That sounds like the right.
Well, that's exactly what Foursquare and Yelp and all these places are doing. Who's the biggest fan? I'm the mayor. I'm the duke. I'm the impresario. Isn't it the same thing?
I turn off
I think
the
it's
TV and I
different.
go places.
Yeah.
Robmenow.com or whatever.
Yeah.
I
it doesn't
like
the same
the
thing.
idea of checking
like
into
the
a TV
idea.
show.
I like the idea of checking into. I think it would have been far more useful about 10 years ago. I don't watch TV when other. I mean, okay, to back up, I think the utility of a check-in to build a community of a check-in while you're watching TV type of an application is, that I want to watch it while others are watching it and share the experience. But I don't watch anything when it's actually broadcast.
I was going to say, this is the fight against the DVR.
Yeah.
This is a reason to watch it when other people are watching it.
That I like. Interesting. And I like it from an advertiser's perspective.
Yeah.
Because here's the unfulfilled promise or fantasy of Foursquare, is that you'll actually be checking into a location when somebody you know who's there. Does it ever happen?
Well, it's happened today. I just checked in with both of you.
Wow.
It rarely happens, right?
It rarely
But it's
happens.
That's a
fantasy.
lame
Like,
example.
Foursquare, you'll check in at this bar.
This
and
might be an
you'll
age
have,
thing
like,
again,
3
Dane.
really awesome people there with you. I'm sure it happens, right, to younger
When you're
people who
23,
are
it happens
using
all
fake
the
IDs
time, and then you
getting into a
leave
place.
and
But
go.
it might be more likely that I check into Mad Men while somebody else is checking into Mad Men.
Well, and Mad Men's a great example, and that's, I think, what they're talking about for those high-dollar shows, right? It's
Glee.
Glee. It's the shows around which you don't want to be spoiled tomorrow, right?
I think it's smart.
It is smart.
Well, it's smart.
You
I
will
just
never
think it's,
catch me
I just
checking
don't
into a
think
TV
it's,
show.
yeah.
You know what?
I'm out of the
Don't
demographic.
be so sure.
I'm out of the demographic.
I told you, you won't catch me checking into Foursquare. I've been checking into Foursquare this week. So
I think in some respects it's a little bit like, I don't really want to get into Ping, but
No, let's please
I signed up
spare
today.
me the Ping conversation.
Underwhelming
again.
sign-up experience.
underwhelming sign-up experience. Okay, enough out of it.
But we're not going there.
So that's check-in. What else do we have on the docket here? Can we talk about ad spending on Google?
Wow.
Ooh, let's do. Let's open up a can of worms.
Just set it up for us, Pete.
It's interesting.
There's
find
a
this very
lot,
interesting.
a lot of money.
Ridiculous amounts of money monthly.
Really ridiculous amounts of money. And okay, so here's the story. Google unveiled what big brands spend in June. This is also from Ad Age. Thank you, Ad Age, for being such a fount of wisdom. This is just June spending on Google advertising, and some of these surprised me. Were you guys surprised by any of these before we get into them?
I would be a little surprised by number 2, but not so much. Or is
Really?
it number 3?
Number 2.
No, not
can we
surprised.
just-
Number
can
one
we
is
give-
AT&T
let's
Mobility.
Let's give our listeners just a snapshot. No, I don't know. You've got
All
it in
right.
front
Well,
of you. A snapshot
okay.
of how
well,
much we're
here's the one.
talking.
This is the one where that
On a
I think
monthly basis.
was interesting to me was BP, because I've heard a bunch of stories about BP
That's where it
about
started.
how they spent just a ton of money on advertising to try and nail down their PR issues, right? They wanted to get people searching. When they search for,
this is
BP, they want people
probably
to...
an aberration for BP's online spending.
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
the time
so
period.
it's
That's
for the time
basically
period. The
what it
last 4 months, it's probably higher than it normally would be. But they spent $3.5 million in June.
In a month.
In a month.
And they're not even the top spender.
On
Not even close.
ad spending. No, they're definitely in the bottom half, and so below them, at 3.3 million we have Hotels.com. At 2.46 million we have JCPenney. 2.29 million we have Living Social, and 2.19 ADT Security.
That's random.
It just feels a little.
I don't
random,
think it's
but
random.
I think it's why. Tell us why.
I'll tell you exactly why. So outside of British Petroleum, right, everything else on here is a convertible sale, right? So we have very competitive industries, which include hospitality, higher education, retail, mobile technology,
Consumer electronics,
right,
travel.
and security. And these are these are industries that tend to pay for high volume leads and then put a lot of infrastructure behind converting those leads. That's why it doesn't shock me. I think for for hotels, hospitality, retail, higher ed, security, those are very lead heavy and
Yeah, I
very
definitely could see that.
convertible. Like when you talk about internet leads, they're measurable, right? When
Right,
you work with
right.
companies that you say like, well, you should put more money into internet lead advertising.
Because it's very
You
easy
want
to
it
build
be
an argument around
convertible. You
the
want it
data,
to be
right?
able to be trackable and say we can put a metric behind it. We can say you're going to spend, $1,000, and we're going to convert this many leads, and we're going to, so
Right.
it
In
surprises me
contrast
that
to
the
BP.
University of Phoenix is the only higher ed institution on the top.
Well, and that was the
10
next. We didn't
or so.
actually go up from BP. So up from BP at 4.25 million, we have eBay. At 5.85 million, we have Amazon.com. At 5.95 million in June, we have Expedia. $6.67 million, we have the Apollo Group, which is the parent company to University of Phoenix. And $8.08 million in June, AT&T Mobility. That's a lot of money in a single month.
So just to clarify, they're paying for paid placements, right? Those are when you search by home security systems, it's the first thing that appears
Well, with Google,
directly
it's going to be a
beneath the
few
search
things.
box.
Google
correct?
has some additional options. It's primarily going to be search position for paid search. But it also, they've got great distribution now for banner advertising.
So it could be Google Ads and
Yes.
Okay.
It is.
So
right.
it's encompassing all of their
Right.
online
But it's
advertising.
only the Google side of it. So you can be rest assured Apollo spent millions more than that on education portals, other
Right.
banner placements, lots of places you can spend money online. Most of it is lead producing. So that's why I think British Petroleum, it's interesting.
They went up there. The change for British Petroleum is significant. They went from spending an average of $57,000 a month to becoming one of Google's top advertisers.
What's
That's
interesting too about
incredible.
this is that really the only competitors within this top 10 are Hotels.com
Hotels and Expedia.
Expedia.
Yeah.
So you've got, for example, ADT. They're probably owning the online category as far as lead generation goes. Whereas
Google,
another
yeah.
security company may be doing phone sales.
Who is?
direct
Why don't
mail.
I know who Living Social is? Who is that?
I don't know.
Nobody knows who Living Social is,
No.
and they're one of the top 10.
Yeah.
Nope.
I'm sorry,
Great
Living
company
Social,
is
you're not
something
doing
I'm
it
sure
well.
we're very
That's
familiar
something
with,
that's
I would
missing.
imagine.
Maybe they're marketing to hip, cool people, and we're not among them.
Oh,
That's a stunning outlay. So, okay. So, what does that tell you? You're in this business. What does that tell you to, not to companies necessarily? I mean, it would be hard to say, I want to compete now in this space with Hotels.com.
Don't.
But how do you go?
Don't do
How do
it.
you go to a client? You say, don't do it. How do you go to a client and say, I want to compete in.
Here, well, okay.
I'm a startup pharmaceutical company, and I have a great alternative to aspirin.
Here's what's tough. When you see what's on the top 10, or if you saw the top 20 or 30 or 50, what becomes obvious is what are your most competitive terms to search for. So if you're doing paid search marketing, it's been true for quite some time that like vacation rentals, hotels, hospitality, those are very competitive terms, and education. And I think in a lot of, if you're looking at local businesses and trying to get into the sort of that competitive paid search category, usually the more specific, the more local, the better. But oftentimes with education, some of these really competitive terms, security, education, and hospitality, the more specific and the more local, actually the more expensive it becomes. So if you're in, let's say, a luxury hotel brand category, and you got very specific about a location, luxury, property type, your bid is probably going from like 50 cents to $15 for a click.
Wow.
Because it's a more serious shopper. But if you're talking to a local plumber, you would say, well, don't compete for a general plumbing, term. Compete for Portland, plumbing. All of a sudden, it's going to get less expensive because fewer people are competing in that category. So, those are just very expensive categories to compete in, and it kind of goes in an opposite direction when you talk about getting very specific.
There are two really interesting points that come out of the comments on this post. The first one, Meg just pointed to. Search Quant from Redwood City writes, looking at the data, a couple of data points worth noting. 7% of spenders account for 60% of the spend. 26% of spenders account for 84% of the spend. It's too bad there's no historical data trend in the document Ad Age got their hands on. I bet that if there were, you'd only see a slight diversification over time away from reliance on these large advertisers for the majority of Google's revenue.
Right. Yeah, BP is the standout, right?
BP is a standout. The rest of them, certainly Apollo Group and Expedia and hotels, they've been at the top for years.
And here's what's interesting. There are two things that I think that are interesting. One is that this actually is not a ton of money. If you look at probably, I would say, let's just say for AT&T, I'll bet that is not a majority of their ad spend, and it's not the biggest piece of the pie even for the month of June. For Apollo, you'd really, if you were to expand that to all internet advertising, it's still, I'm just going to guess that their internet advertising in total is multiples of the Google amount, and a majority of their spend, but certainly not the total. We know that they've named stadiums, they're doing lots of other branding now that they didn't used to do. But this is lead generation advertising for the most part, right? So that's the other part of the story that I think is interesting is how do you balance if you're a corporate brand, how do you balance lead generation with building your brand? Because Google search results does not necessarily build or even contribute to your brand. It might detract from your brand in some instances.
You know what this makes me think of? It just makes me respect the hell out of Evernote, who has spent $0 on advertising, and they have 3 million users within 3 years. They're a startup, and that's just what it makes me think of.
They're focused on their community of users, right?
That's the
but
engagement
grown really
piece.
quickly. Yeah, they've grown really quickly. So enough about the story, but I thought.
Well, the last point that I thought, PJ Advertising from Miami says, very interesting, a top 10 advertiser list that does not include automotive. You know what? Interestingly, pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised there's no big pharma.
They might be more. There might be some regulations there.
Yeah, you're right. That's something.
That's true.
Talking.
And it also could be very disjointed and segregated as well.
Let's talk about D+, because how cool is that?
Good segue as well.
Oh,
right.
D+. Yeah, if you want to really...
Speaking of higher education.
Yeah, if you want to raise the bar, lower the bar. That's the rule.
Now, wait, before we move on, did we miss any higher ed points, Apollo Group points that you wanted to address before we move on?
No, I feel pretty good that you covered them all.
Thank you.
That you were able to take responsibility for each of them. Great moments in collegiate advertising, collegiate marketing. Drake University's D+ campaign. This is from the Upshot at Yahoo News by Brett Michael Dykes. It's a fantastic campaign, and I don't think I mean that complimentarily. Megan, what is
that a word?
I'm sorry.
Is that a Sarah Palinism over here?
Fantastical.
No.
Complimentarily?
Yeah.
Complimentary? Complementarily?
This is like refudiation over here?
Refudiation.
Let's see
I'm
if
not
this
even
one
sure
makes
how
it
to
into
use
the
that.
lexicon.
I'm going to refudiate your
That's exactly how you use. That's right.
your insertion that I don't.
Complementary. Try it again.
All
He's
right.
only had iced tea.
Let's talk about D+, Megan. What is
I
Drake
really wish
doing?
this is the one time in podcasting. For some reason, we were talking about this story. It just picture everybody that's listening right now a huge blue D+ visual as your compelling visual
Kinda
as
like
to
the
why
Duke D a little bit.
why you should go to Drake University.
And the tagline is the Drake
Advantage.
Your
Potential plus our opportunities. Which
Can I put a beat
doesn't
to
even go. He's been
again.
dying to do that on the show.
That had this great effect, the two of you.
I'm. Go ahead. I interrupted you.
No. You started out.
I got
you finished
excited.
the story.
I got
Tell
all
us
fired up.
why we should go to Drake because of their
All
deep
right. Well,
campaign.
first we have to some more of
Advertising
the,
fail before it begins?
Pretty much.
You just have to ask yourself, as I'm sort of reading through this, why it didn't strike anyone that D+ may have another
Board of directors.
right. I mean,
It
D+
is.
may
It's
have
Drake
another thing you think about.
Plus your whatever.
Yeah, and that's
they
what.
said.
Okay, so here's the
That's
deal.
what it means, duh.
Wow.
Touting the ways this new campaign can help students be transformed by an experience that puts opportunity into action and gives purpose to your passion. The Des Moines, Iowa-based school is elected to dub its added pedagogic value the D+ Advantage campaign. The tagline
Nice
for the
tagline
promo.
there, pedagogic value.
It's nice, right? The tagline for the promo campaign, your passion plus our experience. Of course, as many Drake faculty, students, and alumni, and everyone else have pointed out, D+ is universally synonymous with subpar academic performance. As Adweek's Tim Nudd noted, the campaign, quote, seems to position Drake as a school where standards barely exceed total failure.
That's right.
I like the tagline, your passion plus our experience. That seems to have gotten Craigslist into some trouble with the category recently.
Except for you're just making that up. It's your potential plus our opportunities, which may even be more
you
of...
said your passion plus our experience.
You did.
Well,
did
that's
say
a purpose to your passion, which actually may be more important for Craigslist.
Here's to me the best part about this story. Okay, so notwithstanding the fact that there's a huge D+, this is their icon for the campaign. The university officials, okay, here's their first mistake. They enlisted some PR company to help them with this, who'd convince them this is a fabulous idea.
Totally
And
different
power
issue.
of PR, I
the
love
power,
it.
the power
I love
PR,
it.
power.
And
Okay. Stay with
power
me.
of sales.
And they're defending it. They're like, "Oh yeah, this is a great campaign. We are so excited about this." That's the funny
This
part.
is fun.
It's because the outside PR campaign that came up with this, the outside PR firm that came up with this, says that it's edgy
degrees
and
of ELP.
intriguing. It's actually.
Really?
It's not intriguing, really. I mean, I don't
It's
have a
intriguing
question
in that it's funny.
now.
Yeah. What's the question?
There are no questions. There's no intrigue, no mystery. It's subpar performance, and we're going to celebrate it. Right? What did we say? If you want to raise the bar, lower the bar. We're Drake University.
They're
Okay,
not
I'm
saying
sorry.
that, though.
Here's the reason this is a terrible campaign. Here's the reason. Because any student who is an overachieving student will never in a million years resonate with a D+ icon ever.
Of course. Yes.
Maybe they were actually doing this because it just got too hard, that the students were too smart.
I
And
just-
they really
I wanted-
needed to.
No,
They needed to weed out.
I
Dumb
want
it
to
down.
meet the account representative or whoever the salesperson is at the PR firm who convinced, I don't know who was in the room. I want to meet that person who was able to basically sell, like, you know, a popsicle to an Eskimo here. Like,
Exactly.
No, D+, think about it. No, don't think about the grade.
Picture.
We're gonna sell this so well that no one's gonna think about it.
Don't look
get
over
that
there.
out of your mind.
Don't look over there.
D+,
Look here. Look at
right.
Look at
That's
me.
a separate.
That's all the
everyone's gonna
icon
see through
is.
this.
That's right.
Why didn't they do Drake Plus?
When you from the article,
Why
when
didn't
you
they do
see-
Dane
Not a bad
Plus?
idea there, and why not Dane Plus? Because you know what a Dane Plus night is like?
Oh, I guess we're about
You
to
end
find
up in
out.
a 20-person hot tub, I'll tell you that. All right. One thing seems clear from the article. When you see the outsized D Plus logo on the Drake homepage, it's hard to quarrel with the basic
God,
analysis.
it's on their homepage?
Yeah. Basic analysis laid out by the Al-Kajuza Caesar.
One more
Quote,
time. One more
the
time,
marketing
Pete, please.
team that
You
dreamed
do
up
that,
Drake.
Chilean.
See, now, look at me. Look at my mouth moving, people. Quote, the marketing team that dreamed up Drake University's latest campaign, the D Plus Advantage, got so carried away by an apparent allusion to positively charged molecules that it thought it could either ignore or alternately capitalize on one obvious fact.
I want to
The logo,
hire that salesperson.
The logo is the grade for pathetically under-average schoolwork.
Amen.
I mean, that's gold, right?
It's gold.
Whoever sold a university on the concept that D Plus is a fabulous campaign idea.
Yeah, seriously, you
I
do want to
want
hire
to
that
meet that
salesperson.
person.
This is the thing, because you and I have been saying for years that we're on the
Let's
wrong
have that
side of
person
this
on the
business.
phone.
We are on the wrong side of this business. We should be on the
should.
business of
We
selling
should.
online leads and doing this kind of. This is the result of people who listen to that.
Dane,
Right?
this is going to be your ultimate contribution to the show.
I want this
you
person on the
find
show.
That person,
Find
you
the
get them
person
on the
who did
show.
that.
Finally, I would have a contribution to the show.
If you can bring that, you have a
would be
permanent
You can
position
see
in that
Pete's
seat, son.
face right now, folks.
That's
He
brilliant.
agreed
I'm
that I
in.
have not
I am
contributed
in.
to the show up to the present.
Up to the present. You know what? I think it is. This has been a really illuminating discussion. But I think we need to. I think it's about time we bring the smarts.
Awesome, let's do
Shall
it.
we? I'm so excited for our interview today. We notice how it just got really quiet. Do you notice that, you guys? Because we are now in a different location. Yesterday we were in a bar and it was really loud recording part of the show.
Star Trek.
This is like living in the future where we can just zap from location to
There's no
location.
ZZ Top in the background.
We are so excited to have one. We're talking to Lindsey Fosse and Darnell Holloway from Yelp. Now, are you guys both based in Phoenix?
Yes, we are.
Yelp is not based in Phoenix, right? Is it?
No, Yelp is actually headquartered in San Francisco.
Like everybody's in San Francisco. Why are all the cool companies in San Francisco?
And Portland.
That's
Well, in
true.
Portland, that's
Yeah.
true. We got a lot of guys. Anyway, we're so excited to have you guys on because you're a perennial favorite of this show. We go back and forth between totally bashing geosocial marketing and our own
And
use of
embracing
and absolutely embracing it and hugging it real tight. I think every 15 minutes we change our opinion. So we're really excited to hear the straight dope of what Yelp has to offer and how both the users can make better use of Yelp and how businesses can make better use of Yelp to engage their own communities. And who more appropriate to have on the show than Lindsey, who is a community manager for Yelp, and Darnell, an account manager for Yelp. So you guys have kind of straddle both sides of what we want to talk about.
Exactly.
What do you think? Where do you think makes the most sense to start this conversation? Shall we start with the business side? Darnell, you want to tell us a little bit about how Yelp works on the back end and how businesses are making really solid use of it?
Yeah, and that's a great starting point, Pete. The fact of the matter is that Yelp is becoming something that is almost a necessity in certain communities, because what happens is if a business is open to the public, the genie's already out of the bottle in terms of the discussion that's happening about that business. So whether it's on Yelp or any other format where people can talk about their experiences, or whether it's just person-to-person interaction, people are talking about businesses. And so Yelp is becoming the main place online where people are coming to do that. And so from the business owner side of things, it's really important for business owners to realize that that's happening, and then also get engaged with the dialogue that's happening about their business.
So what does Yelp actually do? I'll tell you kind of where we're starting this conversation. Dane and I were driving up here. And to our secret studio in the woods, and we're reading this article about how I can't remember the actual headline, but it had something to do with check me on this, Dane. Yelp spanks Groupon in the daily deals thing.
Daily deals,
Gives
right?
Groupon a beating.
Business
Gives
Insider.
Groupon a beating. I prefer spank.
Spank, yeah.
And so, but
Sound like a phenomenal launch for the daily
phenomenal
deals.
launch, right? But we're, I think, a little bit unclear as we found ourselves talking in circles about what what the daily deals is and how that is different from how businesses have been using Yelp so far. Can you break down how this works?
Sure. That's something that's actually really new. It's funny that you bring that article up. I know exactly what you're talking about. I actually made that my Facebook status last week when it came out. But it's just something relatively new that we're rolling out, where in certain cities, businesses have the opportunity, if they have a deal going on, to basically send that out to people who are Yelp members in that specific metro area. It's still in the testing phase, and I'm sure you read the article and you saw what kind of numbers they did in San Francisco when we did the first one. So it's really promising, but that's not really the heart of the business. Right now, what the heart of things are at Yelp is that if there's a business that's open where there's a B2C interaction, that business very likely may have a profile on the site. And, those profiles, just depending on how long they've been on Yelp, tend to get quite a bit of traffic, quite a bit of eyes on them.
Can you back up just a little bit and talk just more generally about some of the tools that Yelp does provide to businesses, just to give our listeners, because I'm assuming, we kind of know the top surface level of tools, but what other services does Yelp provide to businesses?
Certainly. So, there's really two sides to Yelp. There's Yelp.com that, you and I would go on as the consumer if we're looking, let's say I want to find, some good pizza in San Francisco. So I go to Yelp and I, do a search on the front end. Then there's the business owner side of Yelp, which is biz.yelp.com. And so if, a business has a listing on Yelp, they can actually claim their own Yelp listing, and then they can go in through the biz.yelp.com site. And then there's an actual dashboard with a host of tools that they have. And so the main things on there is really the sections where you can add content. So there's a business information section that allows them to update everything, from basic business hours to specialties to the bio of the owner. They can even recommend other businesses on Yelp if they'd like to do that. Another big feature is the ability for them to post special offers or announcements. So, if a business has a sale going on or any kind of promotion, they can do that as well. And then they can also add photos to their business listing.
Okay, and so this is all done by actually claiming your approved profile. So if I own a small bistro and I go to Yelp and the bistro has already been reviewed, but I'm the owner. I go in and I say to Yelp, this is actually me. Mm-hmm. Right? And then I can start updating it. And then from there, I'm allowed to start creating some of these coupon type deals. Is that what comes next?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if you have a sale or a promotion, you can actually post that up on your Yelp page. The Yelp deals that we were talking about earlier is
that's a different thing
entity altogether. Yeah. And then also, the other really big thing on the Free Business Owners site is that they also have tools to respond to people that are leaving them reviews on the site. So they have the ability to send private messages to people, and then business owners can also publicly comment on reviews that they've received as well.
And I have to imagine, Darnell, that as an account manager, one of the more common issues that you deal with are businesses who see a negative review and want to do something about that. What kind of advice do you give them?
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. I was just actually having a discussion with one of my clients about this the other day, and what we find that's really common is that negative stimuli is really powerful when it's about yourself personally, but typically when it's about someone else, we tend to take that with a grain of salt, and we find that to be true on Yelp as well. Meaning that what happens is let's use a hypothetical situation. Let's say there's a salon on Yelp and they've got 10 reviews. 9 of those reviews are positive, and they've got 1 critical review. On the consumer side of things, somebody may look at that and say, wow, 9 out of 10 people had a great experience. I think I'll check that out. On the business owner side of things, what typically tends to happen is, they might scroll down to that 1 review, and then they read it, and then they can't get it out of their head for the next 2 weeks. And that, of course, that's someone's livelihood. So of course people will take it to that level. And, that's why we say, at the end of the day, you're not necessarily going to please 100% of the people out there. It's just not realistic. We give people tools to engage in that discussion, and sometimes responding to reviewers can be an effective way to address an unhappy client or customer, depending on what the situation is. But it is also important to keep in mind that on the consumer side of things, that people are looking at the bigger picture rather than just focusing on one specific review when they're making a decision about where they're going to spend their money.
And I would imagine, at least my perception is that it's not so much that you're looking for a business with 100% positive reviews, but you're looking for the business who's been reviewed more often than others. So if you have, say, an above average but not perfect score, but you've been reviewed quite often, that's a really good thing. How do you help businesses sort of encourage more reviews? I mean, are there any sort of tactics or techniques that a business should look for?
Another great question, and that's really kind of a two-part question. The first part of your question is that not everyone is necessarily going to be looking at just total number of reviews, especially because from sector to sector, certain businesses are higher volume. For example, a restaurant, we eat 3 times a day. And so restaurants typically tend to see a lot more customers, and so that might have a lot more reviews than, let's say, versus a dentist, which is something that most people only go to once or twice a year.
On Yelp?
And, is that people review their dentist on Yelp?
Oh yeah. Actually,
that's wrong. That's just not okay.
Well, this is. I'm sitting here looking at the site. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but because Megan already derailed you, the best review I found right on the homepage today is it's glad to have you back, Pete. Near reviews near you, Nike Inc. Right, we have Nike headquarters right down here. Uh-huh. The review is 2 stars. This place looks way cooler than it is.
Corporate headquarters.
That's right. I had no idea people were reviewing things that are not like restaurants and I guess consumer services.
Yeah, that was one of the things that kind of surprised me. When I was just getting started out at Yelp is, 2/3 of the reviews on Yelp are not about restaurants.
Really?
We've got everything under the sun from doctors and dentists and mechanics and hair salons and shopping, everything that you can imagine pretty much. But back to the other part of your question, what I found is the best strategy for business owners to take is to focus more so on letting people know that they're on Yelp rather than aggressively soliciting reviews. For example, simple point is if somebody gets into a conversation with one of their customers, they can say, hey, by the way, go check me out on Yelp. Because if that person that they're talking to is a regular Yelp user, they'll know exactly what they're talking about and they'll know what to do from that point. Some other things that people can do is, if you have, as a business owner, if you have email blasts or things like that you send out to clients, you can put in your auto signature a link to your Yelp page and say, check us out on Yelp there. We also provide widgets for people. For people that don't know what that is, it's basically a device that you can put in your business information. It will create a badge that you can actually put on your main website that will act as a link back over to your Yelp listing. So if somebody finds you, online through other means aside from Yelp, and they see that you have that on your actual website, they'll be directed right over to your Yelp listing. And then also some other things that people can do is, we provide people with, images of Yelp decals and things like that. So if people want to make their own signage or things like that to let people know that they're on Yelp, then they can also do that as well.
And how do they get a hold of those? Like decals?
We actually have we on our blog. We actually had a write up about that recently, and we also emailed it out to business owners that are engaged in their business owner's account. And it's also something that if any of my clients ever ask for, I can provide to them on a one-off basis as well.
So to clarify, and I think it's an important point, your suggestion is for the business owner not to say, hey, please write a review on Yelp. And I don't care what you say, but please write a review. But instead to subtly say, and by the way, we're on Yelp.
Exactly.
Okay, that's great advice.
That's an interesting line, but it makes sense to that because it just ends up feeling icky. Even if you like the business, if somebody says, hey, go write something really nice about me on Yelp.
Yeah.
Yeah, and usually it's all the the business owner's parents and sister. And
I'm telling you, if my dentist asked me to write, I would actually write a nice review, but that would just be a little weird.
that would be a little weird.
I'm hung up
I'm
on
gonna
this
start
dental
walking
thing. I'm
if
sorry.
Watching if you check in at your dentist all the that's going to start creeping me out. Let's talk a little bit about the other side, about the community engagement part, because I think that gets us into this next kind of realm of discussion, which is if we're just letting people know that we're on Yelp. What is the expectation that we have from our community? What does involvement look like, and how do you guys, help inspire that for businesses?
Absolutely. So that's where my job comes in. So like I said, my name's Lindsey. I'm the community manager. And the unique part about Yelp is that Yelp is really a community. Yelp is not a website where, strangers are kind of hanging out online and they never communicate or connect. A lot of our Yelpers use Yelp as kind of a lifestyle blog, a way to track where they visit, what they like, what they didn't like. And so in order to really enhance the community feel of Yelp, we've got community managers in over 60 cities globally, so both nationally and internationally. And the job of the community manager is to really connect the community, our local Yelpers, with cool local businesses around town. So, it's head of marketing, getting the Yelp name out there, and also really just managing the community and connecting our residents with the places to shop, where to eat, where to go, all that. So we do so. I do so in a variety of ways. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out, and what that does is that highlights different businesses around town. Just this week, the Phoenix newsletter was all about working out. So that kind of goes back to your point about not all businesses reviewed on Yelp are restaurants. A lot are gyms, and even any place with an address can be reviewed on Yelp pretty much. So I put a weekly newsletter out, and Yelpers really love to read that and see where the latest and greatest places are to visit. But the main way that we really connect the community is by getting our Yelpers, offline and getting together at local meetups all throughout the Valley or all throughout your local city to really promote and build awareness for a local business and get these Yelpers, connecting with each other as well.
You do like Yelp bombs, have people just all show up at one business at the same time.
Oh yeah,
that's such a great idea.
Do you do it at businesses, or how do you?
Why don't we call it Yelp ups?
Yelp ups. Because it sounds like a dog food.
I think we're spinning out of control. Sorry.
See what happens.
Well,
but
it's a really great question, because it's something we've talked about before.
A lot.
It's the power of
online
the offline transfer. How does that work for Yelp?
So how it works is, we've got a very active community of Yelpers. For the ones who are on the site and reviewing it, they're, like I said, they use this as a lifestyle blog, and it's a way to keep track of where they're going. So they're some of the most vocal and influential residents in the Valley. A high percentage of them are college grads. They obviously have the disposable income to be able to visit these local businesses. So we have what is called an elite Yelp squad. And what that means is...
I want to be on that.
Do you get a beret? I want a beret.
A lot of people do. And it's pretty cool. So what the elite Yelp squad is it's really like the core of our Yelpers. It's a special sauce, but if you live and breathe Yelp, you could become nominated to become elite. And what that means is I put on events around town every month at local businesses. So whether it be a restaurant that really wants to build awareness and get the word out there and showcase their products, or even a raw space where we bring in local food sponsors and alcohol sponsors and entertainment. And we showcase not only the raw space, but some local restaurants as well. So we have, like I said, a meetup about every month, and depending on the city, they can range in size. And then once a year, I have an open party. And so what an open party is it's for anyone with a Yelp profile, and they can attend. And it is just a huge bash where we have several food vendors, several alcohol sponsors. It's normally at a very large venue. And it's just a fun and unique way for these businesses to get out there and market their product to local residents.
So wait, I just need to clarify. So you can only come to the monthly events if you're on the elite Yelp squad?
Well, there are different ways. There are different events throughout the month. So there is one elite event. So that is only for those members who are on the elite squad. But then Yelp has meetups multiple times a month. We have what is called an unofficial Yelp event. And what that is it's just a casual happy hour at a local restaurant or bar or business that wants to showcase their product. And Yelpers can go out and visit. We have an events calendar on each Yelp page that's specific to that city. So a lot of Yelpers, I mean, they're friends. They know each other by name. They love to get together. And so they plan a lot of these events themselves. And then in addition, I'll plan these events around town. And then we also have what's called a community manager Yelp event. And that's for anybody with a Yelp profile. A lot of times there are food specials, and it's just a way for these Yelpers, like I said, to get together. So several ways.
You sign up and you get access to these parties for most of them.
Yeah, that's cool. So I do have another question about your active users. So what constitutes an active user? Are they posting multiple times every single day? And then my other question, because I've been thinking a lot about this, is are they equally active in other social spaces? Like, are these people active on Twitter and Facebook? And because for me personally, I find I give a lot of love to one and then I neglect the others. It's kind of like a favoritism thing. So I'm just curious to know if for Yelpers.
Yeah, how do you calculate that? How big is the community?
Absolutely. Well, the community varies based on the city. Portland actually has a large Yelp community, so you guys should start Yelping a lot. And
social hooligans.
We
did it last night. We Yelped last night.
We totally Yelped. We were avid Yelpers.
Yeah, so it's really a special sauce on how you define an active member on Yelp. It's almost, we like to say when you an active Yelper when you see one. They're really
so like porn.
Pretty much, I mean, people get together in a dark, smoky room. And they decide
sniff through a bourbon and some exotic animals from Uruguay. So you were saying
had a pay horse at last year's open party in San Francisco.
Yeah,
that is awesome.
Yeah, these Yelp parties get as creative as possible, and we actually have a national community blog that I can send you the link for, and it can give you an idea of what these Yelp events are. They have different titles, different themes, lots of costumes, lots of food. It's a good time. But so like I said, it's really a special sauce that defines a Yelp elite. But the second part of your question, I'm sorry, can you repeat the second part?
I was just curious to know if you're these active, avid Yelpers sitting in a dark, smoky room, are they equally active on different social media platforms like Twitter and Facebook?
That's right. You know what? They actually are. A lot of, like I said, the unique part about Yelp is that these aren't people, that just sit at home. I mean, Yelp is a review site, so you've got to be out in the community to be able to actually review places that you're visiting. So a lot of these Yelpers are, they love to go out and explore the city that they live in, and they're really they're the experts of the city. They know the latest restaurants to visit. They know the best place to find a dentist. They're really active on Twitter. They're really active on Facebook. They're active both online and offline, which is, the exciting and unique part. And, which is why I think Yelp is such a success because, our reviews are relevant and our reviewers know what they're talking about.
I know you guys are on a time crunch, and I just appreciate you sitting in with us. I think as we wrap this up, I'm really interested in your perspective on this social space, particularly in light of Facebook's launch of Places, how you see Places working with, in concert with or against Yelp and the service and the platform that you guys have built. What's your overall sort of community philosophy in engaging as these other major tools add more of these kinds of services that you guys have really built your foundation on?
Right. Well, and I think, Yelp is very unique in what we offer, and it's different than what Facebook offers. So it's not really, I think, like a comparison. Yelp is for those people who are looking to make the most of their dollar in the city, and they want to spend their dollar, in the right place. And so they look at different reviews, or they review different places. So, in that sense, I think that, Yelp works well with, other entities such as Facebook. You can link your Yelp check-ins or your Yelp reviews to Facebook and Twitter. So that's pretty cool.
And that's a very slick integration, by the way.
Huh?
That's a slick integration. I like the way that posting on Yelp integrates with Facebook, so that you can sort of, I don't know that I should say this, I guess, but I think it's a better replacement, using Yelp and integrating with Facebook with the mobile app. To me, that's better than just using Facebook Places, where you sort of shout out, "Hey, I'm here," shouting out that you're at a location on Yelp, and having that post on Facebook, and then having the ability to, I think, as you're saying, see the reviews, write a review, offer an opinion about the place that you've just checked into. I think that's I like the way it integrates, and I think that it's I guess a superior experience.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. And from a business perspective, if you have an active business page, I think you want your users to be using Yelp in context with Facebook, particularly because it provides context, right? And that's something that's missing with some of these other platforms. And Yelp, I think, has been doing it long enough that these reviews they can be really powerful. I mean, we were talking on the way up here. The best restaurants we've discovered in Portland are usually as a result of standing on a street corner and wondering what we're going to eat picking up Yelp.
That's right.
And we use that cool on the iPhone, monocle. Mm-hmm. Have you played with that?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
That blows my mind every time. Dane is looking at us like we're nuts. You've never played with this?
We'll show you, Dane.
We're going to show you this.
It'll be your tool.
Is it really called a monocle, or did Pete make that word up?
Nope, that's
Lindsey,
what
tell him I'm not lying.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Because Pete makes words up.
Yeah, and that's the awesome part. You can use Yelp online, when you're in front of a computer, but then just isn't, you can also use it as you're traveling and as you're finding, where to eat. And as I travel, I live and breathe by my Yelp app, and I've found some great places to eat, even in Auburn, California, on my way.
Even in Auburn. So to all you Auburn people, find
she didn't just say that. the community manager from Auburn is going to be all over you.
Anywhere.
Well, Lindsey, really, thank you so much for sharing. I know it's after 10, and you guys are so good. Did we already lose Darnell? Did he take off?
Yeah, he left.
We did. He had to get to another meeting, but it was a pleasure speaking with you. And feel free to email me with any questions.
We sure. Where would you like people to find more information? Where can we send people? Just Yelp.com, or do you have special links you want to pass us on?
Obviously, yeah, absolutely. Yelp.com. If anybody is interested in learning about how to unlock their business tools, if they visit B as in boy, IZ.yelp.com, they can learn more about actually how to unlock the business tools and how to make the most of a Yelp profile page as a business owner. And then if you're interested in learning more about how to become elite, visit Yelp.com/elite. So ELITE.
Oh, I want to be elite.
I'd like to be elite at something. I don't really care what it is.
Being a Yelp elite is pretty cool.
That's pretty cool. Although I seriously think you should consider berets. I think that could be a next step.
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny.
It would be funny. Lindsey, again, thank you so very much for taking the time to share with us, what you guys are doing at Yelp. It's been a great service for us so far, and we're just thrilled to have you on the show. I hope you'll come back as things continue to evolve.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having us, and I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying the Yelp website.
Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
That was so great, that conversation there that we just had about Yelp. Do you guys feel better about all the check-ins you're going to do now? Now that we've talked to our friends, our brand new best friends, Lindsey and Darnell?
If we had more time, I would have asked them, because here's this, and this is probably going to reveal far too much about my personality.
Let's do it.
I don't typically write reviews on Yelp, and if I did...
You're a lurker, they call you.
No. And if I did, it would be a business that I loved, because I felt like I was doing that business a service. Like, I loved them so much that I want to write something nice about them. I'm not going to write a mediocre review. I guess I'm not going to be part of the Yelp elite squad.
All right, we should have talked about
this
more.
If it was terrible,
it was terrible because you're vindictive.
Okay, that's not where I started with this conversation. I said
right.
if I
I'm
really
sorry.
liked them.
I was totally reading into that.
Well, you said you were revealing things.
All right.
Aggressive?
This is another thing that we.
This
is another thing that we did is as we're reading in the car on the way up here, and that was that 90% of users of user-generated content sites like YouTube and Yelp and things are lurkers.
Right? And that's okay.
And that's okay.
I'm definitely, I use Yelp. But I don't consider that lurking, because I don't care.
You just don't like the
word. You're
word.
lurking if you don't create content.
Okay, I'm lurking if I watch, in my mind, I'm lurking if I'm like, what is Dane doing today?
No, that's stalking.
Right.
That's on the continuum. There's
stalking.
That one's
there's
stalking.
Stalking, lurking,
Lurking's
creating.
not a bad thing.
I just created a gradient. I just created a continuum.
It's a terrible continuum.
It's the best continuum. You'll regret that. You'll rue the day.
Anyway, they were fabulous.
They were fabulous.
Well, here's the whole dentist component.
So
I'm so
the
blown
Yelp
away
continuum.
by that.
You didn't talk about that. You, as a, how would you classify the level of frequency
Elite?
of use of these services for you?
Beyond
Dane?
elite.
I don't think that's a fair.
I'm going to go with neophyte.
I'm going to go with neophyte. That's right. Maybe Luddite would be better. No.
Are you an iPhone user? Okay, so
after
here's the
this
thing.
conversation, where do you stand?
Okay, so, I'm right here on the couch. Like Tom Cruise, he stands on couches. I
think that was an obscure Oprah reference.
It was.
I think that was good.
I follow those. So actually, Megan referred to this sort of use one or the other. You have to kind of pick and choose, and so I am sort of like playing around with Foursquare, kind of fun to use, because in addition to just the easy check-in to the place that you're at, you can check into living rooms and bathrooms and kitchens and friends' houses
wherever
and
you want.
Things that Yelp has no interest in, and really are just a irrelevant novelty. I checked into places on Yelp. I'm having no luck getting Facebook places to work. So checked into Yelp, and who are my friends that are on Yelp, and just sort of the location thing, where am I at, and the check-in, right? And lo and behold, it's full of very useful information when you do that. It's got reviews, and I don't know. I said earlier that that's in my mind kind of a superior check-in, right? So Yelp's got them, Gowalla, Foursquare, Facebook. Yelp absolutely is relevant, and I think in terms of sort of where am I at, I think beyond just where should I eat tonight, but that sort of just novelty experience, I think, of checking into a spot.
It sort of goes the other direction, right? Where Foursquare is trying to add context and meat to novelty information.
Exactly.
Checking into traffic, or I'm on a plane. I was the mayor of traffic for 2 days.
Wow.
Before I was ousted. But Yelp's gone the other way, because I think Yelp had the profiles before the check-ins, and they're adding the novelty part to what was already a substantial service, a useful service.
And that novelty becomes useful, in my mind.
Yeah.
Well, right.
Well,
and
how?
It adds to the dimension of the service. It's
right.
just but I think, and as evidenced by the fact that they do all of this offline stuff, I think is a really easy way to see, the communities that are most effective also have an offline component too. Yeah. I think we're going to see more and more of that.
It occurred to me during the conversation, and I'm sure it's occurred to a lot of people before it occurred to me today, that Yelp is everything City Search ever wished it could have been, I think, because I was actually not quite aware that they're doing all this offline stuff, and that they've got community managers in communities, and they've got account managers in communities. And City Search, I think, really tried to be sort of offline and be local, and City Search, I know, still does exist, but sorry,
City Search.
But Yelp, Yelp, it's such, I don't know if it's just great timing or what, right? But the user reviews, so it's user generated instead of sort of editorial driven, which I think City Search more or less was, with some reviews. But I think it has a lot of relevance in that sense, and I think to be able to adopt things like the check-in, like I checked in, for instance, this morning at my hotel on Yelp, and it was full of useful information about the area, information about the hotel services, reviews that obviously don't matter since I've already made my purchase, but I don't know, maybe were justification for my purchase because they were good reviews. But more importantly, I think, things that were sort of, people's experiences with the hotel and the area around the hotel, that had relevance and was interesting to me. So
it's useful.
There you go.
It's not just a game.
Yeah. I think I'm going to try using it more.
Me too. I'm thinking
that
too.
That's my thing.
So let's tie in our tool, because now we have a fabulous tool that's not new to us. Well, it's
I
new
know.
to Dane,
Well, and it's a bit of a novelty inside of Yelp. I mean, I strangely, I have used this seriously, and yet I still see it as kind of a novelty. So if you go, this is I think only true of the iPhone app. For Yelp. Do you want to look up and see if it's true of the Android app while we're doing this? So, Dane, I'm demonstrating. This is where we need to have video. So I went into Yelp on the iPhone app, and there's this. When you go into the nearby section, you go to. I don't know how to make it go away. Now I'm in Monocle and I can't make it go away. Anyway, so there's this little kind of radar up here, and you can see down below there behind me. There are those little dots, and those are. Where some local stores are. And when I show my camera around here, I'm looking through the camera, and look at that. Dane, can you turn your head? Do you see what's going on there? The Yelp reviews are floating in space.
Interesting, because we're in the middle of
the living room here.
Psychedelic experience.
And you can actually be standing on a street corner, point your camera with the Yelp app running at a restaurant, and see the Yelp review pop up in front of you.
We so live in the future.
We totally do. I think it's on the iPhone, you guys. I'm not getting great data here, but I'm pretty sure it's only iPhone.
Isaac Asimov would not have imagined that tool.
No kidding.
Oh,
I mean,
wait.
it's a...
Yelp 2.0 brings Monocle and check-ins to its Android client.
So there you go.
It is. It's fantastic. And so then you click on it, and you immediately jump up. It says, that's 3 reviews. I'm looking at a review of the Korea House, which is apparently very close to your house. The Duke is Todd M., the Duke of the Korea House.
But the cool thing about this is exactly what Peter just said. You can stand on a street corner and see visibly what's nearby based on where you're holding the phone and the direction in which you are pointing the phone. And I'm sorry, they do have an Android client.
That is, it is really
July 5th.
It's one of those things that just sort of makes Yelp that much more useful standing when you use it the most, which is for me when I'm desperate for a place to eat.
I'm starving,
exactly.
And I know there's some good places nearby.
There's got to be something near here. I'm just going to walk in this direction.
Yep, it's an awesome tool. So
and
check
you can
it out.
hold it in front of you and walk and still see where you're going. If I just had
iPhone 4.
Glasses that had iPhones in the lenses,
then your nerddom would be complete.
It doesn't matter. By then, bite me. I have iPhones for glasses.
At that point, Pete just checks out of reality altogether.
I am gone. First I checked in, and now I'm checking out.
Straddling the line.
Perfect ending to the show.
And I think it is.
Peter.
So with that, Dane, it's been really terrific having you here in Portland.
It's been so terrific.
It's been terrific to be here.
Yeah. Where can people find you elsewise?
I believe it's Facebook Altadane. Is that right?
Facebook.com/Altadane.
People figure all that out.
Altadane. I'm glad we discovered that.
.co.uk. Just kidding. I'm here in Portland at a music festival, Music Fest Northwest, and I am posting but most importantly, here to see Pete and Megan. And I'm going to be posting some things like the Panda Bear concert last night. Posted that, so check it out.
Awesome. And Megan?
I'm at Megan Strand on Twitter, and Encouraged with an I is my blog and website.
And I am Pete Wright on Twitter, and fifthandmain.com is my website. You can learn more about the show at thenakedmarketers.com. Follow us on Twitter at Naked Markets, and make sure to subscribe to the show in iTunes. It's the very best way to make sure you don't miss a single episode of Naked Marketing, and it really helps us. And you know what I'm going to do?
What are you going to do?
Don't leave us reviews. Because we're not supposed to ask for reviews.
Oh, right.
But
just
maybe
visit us.
We should
be aware that we're there.
Can we be on Yelp?
Can we?
We don't have an address.
Well, now we do. It's
Secret location in
Megan's
the woods.
house.
Yeah, Megan has a great house.
But we sure would love you to subscribe to the show, and because that's how people find out about the show. If you subscribe in iTunes rather than listen on the website, more people will actually discover us, and that's and be exposed to more great tools like Yelp. We are going to be taking a little bit of a break for the next month, I think. Right? We're breaking down season 1 of the Naked Marketers.
We're taking a break so that we can put the lost episodes up.
The lost episodes. We have a couple of lost episodes that full of trick ponies, and we're going to put those up. So we're going to take a little bit of a break, but we will be back up early in October for season 2 of the Naked Marketers. So make sure you don't unsubscribe when you don't see a couple of weeks of episodes. Don't unsubscribe. We're coming back. Season 2 coming in October.
Coming back bigger, badder, better, and bronzer.
All of that except for bronze.
Because it'll be winter.
Because it'll be more winter and more pale, kind of peaked. Bigger, badder, and peaked. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. We will catch up with you in October on The Naked Marketers.